Okay, here we are in Brookwood Cemetery, and I want to introduce you to another friend of mine, Mohammed Marmaduke Picktall. Mohammed Marmaduke Picktall was born in 1875, and he came from an aristocratic family that could trace its roots back to William the Conqueror. Marmaduke's father was a clergyman, an Anglican clergyman, and he was brought up to be a pucker Englishman. And he went to school in Harrow, which is very close to where I live, and one of his schoolmates was Winston Churchill. And from there, like his neighbour, Abdullah Yusuf Ali, he went to Cambridge. After that, he had a great love of the Orient. So he travelled the Levant and the Ottoman Empire, and he had a great love for the Ottomans. The Ottomans, the Turks, they had their faults, but he admired the order and the peace that he found in this part of the world. He remarked actually at one point that a person in Palestine could live their whole lives virtually without seeing a policeman, and their lives went on the same as it had for hundreds of years. It was so well ordered. When he came back to England, it was around about the time, the First World War was brewing, and the Turks had sided with the Germans, and the British, they were inclined towards the Arabs. They wanted to stir them up to revolt against the Ottomans. Marmaduke, because he had first-hand knowledge of the area and the people, and also he was so well recognized. He was a prolific author. He had about 40 books to his name, and he was feted by the likes of H.G. Wells. He approached the establishment and said, look, if the Ottoman Empire is disbanded, the Arabs will just end up fighting amongst themselves. But of course he wasn't listened to. Islamophobia was so prevalent at that time because the war effort with their propaganda, they wanted to other the enemy. Islam was being denigrated left, right and centre. It really came to a head with Marmaduke when he went to attend a church service, and a hymn by John Wesley was sung, in which the Prophet Muhammad was referred to as an impostor and a thief. And Marmaduke stood up, walked out, and never entered a church as a Christian again. In 1917, he publicly converted to Islam at the Shah Jahan Mosque, the first purpose-built mosque in this country, which is just about 5 miles away. And in fact, almost immediately, he started actually giving sermons there on a Friday at the khutbah, because of course he was fluent in the language and he knew the Islamic faith inside out. He was kind of a persona non grata because of the Turks during the war. But mind you, during the war he did serve as a soldier. He was a corporal in the medical corps. But strange enough, most of his action was seen in hospital, looking after people who'd been stricken by the influenza pandemic that took place then. He went to India, and there he worked on his translation of the Quran, and he was very successful. He had to kind of run it by the establishment in Al-Azhar University, which is the Vatican of the Muslim world at the time. And he said, arguing with the Egyptian ulama there, the scholars, made his hair go white overnight. Anyway, his translation of the Quran is very well received. But I see him more as a visionary, because he knew, he could see what was going to happen with the Arabic world. But he's left us the Quran, his translation of the Quran. So that's Mohammed Marmaduke Picktall for you. May God have mercy on his soul and on ours.